Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me for another Sims 4 speed video where I am renovating Willow Creek, and I'm at Ophelia Villa today, so the Goth's house. This one I had a lot of fun doing. In terms of the original build, I quite like it. I think it's a pretty interesting looking house. It has a very unique shape, and the exterior just has a lot of interesting features such as, bump outs, turrets, that kind of thing. But I did want to give it a go, give the renovation a go, and make it more consistent with the renovations that I've been doing throughout Willow Creek, so making it look more New Orleans style, and I guess just tidying it up and making it look a bit more detailed. Now, the voiceover is going to be a bit, funny because I am in a bit of a rush. I am getting a flight at 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And so, yeah, I'm trying to pump this video out before I go away. I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, so there won't be any videos in that time. And I actually was renovating this house earlier in the week. I think I started last weekend. And yeah, I was just tinkering away at it, and then I was actually out of town on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I wasn't able to do any editing. I had actually finished the build before I went out of town. I had to go on like a work trip, but I was like thinking, oh my gosh, like I really, like when I was away, I was like, oh wow, I really have to get this video edited and uploaded before I go away, so that there's at least something while I'm on vacation, so that like there's no like huge gap, because if I didn't put this video out, it would have been about 3 weeks, and then people might be wondering where I am. So yeah, just getting this video done, and yeah, I think I'm gonna try not to make mistakes. Usually when I make mistakes with the voiceovers, I just kind of edit them out and start again. I hope you don't notice. You might be able to notice sometimes, but I do try to make the transitions as smooth as I can when I do make mistakes in voiceovers, because I'm not the best at talking, and I'm not a charismatic person. So yeah, I just try and work to the best of my ability, but I don't really have time to re-record stuff over and over again. So I'm going to try my best to get through this voiceover with as little mistakes as possible. Now, I've talked over pretty much me putting the roof together. So it is a mansard roof, and I really wanted to have the dormers, because there's a couple of dormers. I think there's 3 at the moment, but there ends up only being 2. And I wanted the dormers to have like a roof piece above them. Like I don't want the dormers to be at the same height as the surrounding roof. So what I did to alleviate that was just put a platform on top of the 3rd floor, and then I just moved the roof up a bit more, so it looks like the dormers are a bit more built in, and I think that it achieves the look quite well. It's just the dormers, I wish, like I know there are dormers that are like roof decorations, but I don't like them. I think they're just kind of cheap, and they look a bit, I like functional dormers, if you are playing up on the roof, then there is a window that you can look out, like a dormer window that you can look out. So I prefer using these dormers. In terms of the packs that I used base game obviously, and vampires, the new storybook nursery kit, and laundry day. And I know some of those like roof decorative dormers come with the vampires pack, but yeah, not necessarily the look that I'm going for. I wanted to, as part of the renovations that I've been doing, I want this build to look like it fits in the world, and I feel like the vampires architecture is very distinct, and it doesn't really fit Willow Creek in my opinion. So I do use more of the vampire stuff on the interior, not too much, because while I do think that the Goth family, in terms of Gothic, like they are Goth, I kind of envision them as being a bit more old-fashioned and old money, as opposed to like full-on I guess exaggerated Goth, like what you'd expect with the vampires pack. But I keep things pretty dark, because yes, I like their old money, but they also like things to be very dark and traditional. So in terms of the colors that I used a lot of black, gray, I guess kind of beigey colors. There's some nice beige colors, like beige wallpapers and stuff that I've used. and some red, of course, but not too much. I just kept the red to accents only, because I feel like the reds can be a little overpowering. And yeah, so we'll get onto the interior soon. I'm still working on the exterior here. One thing that I do add to the build is a cemetery in the Willow graveyard in their backyard. Now, I think it's just absolutely, it's sacrilegious that this house was built with no graveyard. The Goths are known for having a graveyard in their backyard, and it's kind of annoying because this house is on such a small lot that fitting a graveyard was really difficult, but I managed to squeeze one in, and I used the tombstones from the Vampires pack to create a little graveyard. But I mean, you can always replace the tombstones with any of the tombstones that you want to play with if you want functional ghosts or whatever, anything like that. In my game, I have created ancestors for the Goths, so the ancestors that were in the previous games, and then I just killed them and put their tombstones in the little corner there in the graveyard that I created. So yeah, so it has a graveyard, and I was happy to be able to put that in, but it also has like a little courtyard and just a little green space as well. So yeah, I made the house brick, like this nice kind of darker red brick, and I kept the black accents though. I feel like it looks nice with the brick color, and I chose the brick texture that has the I don't even know how to say these. Is it like queening on the sides? It's like those stone details on the sides, and they go up the tower. I don't know how to pronounce that. I should probably Google it to see how it's pronounced. But yes, it has. I used that texture. And yeah, everything else I just kind of kept base game. I think for Willow Creek, I'm just going to, I may have mentioned in another video, I can't remember, it's been such a busy week for me. I can't remember if I mentioned, but for the exteriors in Willow Creek in particular, I'm going to only use, for mostly, base game stuff, because I feel like that's really the style of Willow Creek, is, the textures that came with base game. Probably when I get to other worlds, I'll start using more decorations and textures from the packs that world came with, or the pack that world came with, so that things kind of seem a bit more cohesive. You can see here I tried putting on the live edit Ivy from University Life. Not University Life, no, Discover University. I'm thinking of The Sims 3. I always do that when I talk about, like, I just forget what Sims game I'm in, and I'm playing Sims 3 and Sims 4 at the moment, so, and I've recently played Sims 2, so I'm always getting the pack names confused. But I used that Ivy to start with, and I kept it for a little while, but then I ended up taking it off because I just didn't quite like the tone of the green. I wish we could recolor these, but yeah, you could see it was kind of it was a bit too bright. If it was darker and a bit more deeper, then I feel like it would look quite nice. But with the tone, like the green tones from the garden, I just felt like that Ivy didn't really fit it that well. And here I am putting on a fence, and as per all of my other fences in Willow Creek, I've been using the live edit fences, and here I am just putting it together, and I combine it with this taller iron, wrought iron styled fence. I did not include all of the footage of me putting the fence together because it took me so long to do that and to get the placements right, because these objects aren't really, I guess they're not designed to be used on lots like this, so the measurements don't really add up, and so you can kind of end up with weird gaps in the fences and kind of overlaps and stuff like that. So, and that took me a while to kind of get it right, so I didn't include any of that in the footage here. In terms of the landscaping out the front of the house, I actually quite like the landscaping, the original landscaping. I feel like it's just goes really well with the house, but it's a bit bare, and I wanted to make the landscaping a bit more lush, so I did experiment with some kind of some undergrowth plants, and I took them out, and then I was playing around with these white hydrangeas. I really wanted to keep the little white, I think they're, I don't know what they're, the little white, they're not lilies, I don't know, but the little white flowers, I was going to keep those in, but I just felt like there were too many white flowers, so I took all of those out, and in fact I took out all of the landscaping and just started again. But I kept kind of, the same tones, but I also added some bushes with red flowers because, yeah, as I said, I do want some red in this house because we know Bella's favorite color to be red, but, just with some accents here and there. But yeah, so the front garden ends up being super lush. I did try, I don't know if, no, yeah, it didn't show me putting them in, but I've got these hedges here. These don't stay because I wasn't quite happy with how they looked, and I wasn't happy with the tone of them. I thought they were a little too bright and vibrant, so I go with a darker hedge a little bit later. And you can see here I'm just putting the courtyard in. This is my initial kind of go at the courtyard. But I do end up changing it. I wasn't quite happy with how it came together. I mean, the initial, placement or job that I do is fine. I don't hate it, but I just felt like I could do a bit better. So you can see me putting these little flowers in, and then I put some grass in, and then I go and put this grass out the front. And see, now that I'm looking at this, it doesn't actually look that bad. I don't know why I changed it. But it's just these hedges here, like they're a bit too green. Maybe when I changed these hedges and put the darker green ones, the other plants looked a little bit out of place, like the greens just didn't really go that well together. So that's perhaps what I did. But yeah, you can see I put the tombstones in, and now I'm working on the courtyard. It is very big, and there's only so many things you can put in a courtyard in the base game, so I do shrink it down quite a bit, and then just give them a bit of a grassy patch. And what else do I do? Oh, and a bit more of a kind of like a lush garden out the back as well. With the floor texture, with the ground texture, I tried using some of the new ones that came with the update, but I don't know if I'm a huge fan of them. Maybe I just haven't found the right use for them yet. I mean, I've only just tried them with this house here, so there's probably other opportunities that I'll get to use those ground textures, but I couldn't just find any that worked with this particular build. I'm sure I'll be able to use them somewhere. I'm definitely grateful that we have them, but yeah, just wasn't quite finding any use for them in this build. And here, yeah, you can see I'm just starting to adjust the backyard again and replacing the hedges with these darker hedges. And I was just having some trouble because I wanted to separate the graveyard from the rest of the courtyard and, the backyard, but the hedges weren't the right size to kind of do it with just a hedge. So I kind of extended the fence and just kind of have this like little kind of entryway into it. And I put in some more undergrowth in the cemetery, so I've just the graveyard. I've just kind of replaced a few things, and I'm moving the tombstones about, and then just figuring out what plants I want to use. So I use these red flowers here. I never know the names of the plants. There's very few plants that I actually pay attention to the names of, and most of the plants that I've used here are not one of those plants. So I'm just looking for a tree to put in the backyard, and I used this one. I also kept I'm pretty sure that's a magnolia tree in the backyard, the one with the white flowers. So I keep that one, and I have some of the magnolia trees at the front of the house that don't have any flowers on them. And then with the courtyard, because I shrunk it down, it just makes it look more full. And yeah, otherwise if I kept it how it was before, it looked too bare, and that's just because I'm playing with limited packs. But that is pretty much the backyard done, and then I'm coming out to the front again, and I'm just going to add some undergrowth to the front yard here. I do come back a little bit later and add another tree to the front yard, or maybe another 2 trees. No, I add another couple of trees to the front yard. And now moving on to the interior. So I kept the floor plan pretty much the same. Like I made some adjustments here and there. I guess the left hand side of the house stays very much the same. The right hand side does change a little bit because of what I did with the stairwell. I did want to have a stairwell that went all the way up the tower, so all 3 levels of the tower, but I haven't quite figured out how to get that to work so that it looks, having stacked staircases in that space, like I couldn't get it to work right. Whenever I tried placing the stairs on the 2nd level and I tried to remove the floor underneath them so that they were kind of floating, I couldn't do that. Like the game just kept deleting the stairs. So that was a bit frustrating. I did cut out all of the footage of me playing around with the stairs because that took a really long time. And then of course Alex's room is no longer in the attic. He has a room on the right hand side of the house, so I made a room for him, and upstairs I've just kept purely an attic space where there is an art easel in the tower, and there is also a space for laundry. So the laundry is upstairs as well, the laundry room. Here I am doing the entryway, and you can kind of see the color schemes that I'm doing here are what I stick with mostly throughout the rest of the house, except with the wall light shades. I change those to black, and yeah, it ends up coming together quite nicely. It's very cohesive and consistent throughout the house. So yeah, it was a fun time, and it actually came together quite quickly. I feel like base game builds come together so quickly just because you're quite limited in terms of what you can kind of do, and because the base game, all the styles that came together in the base game, they were kind of designed to go with each other, so you don't really have to do too much thinking in terms of what furniture style goes with this wallpaper or whatever, because they all came together in the same and at the same time. They were all designed together and created together, so they work really well together, and it's easy to use them together. So yeah, this interior didn't take much time to put together at all, and I guess the floor plan was what took me the longest. I'm just trying to think. You can see me using a vampires wall decoration. Well, I was using one. I do actually use that again throughout the house. Not again, like I've removed it there, but I put it somewhere else. That's what I'm trying to say. There it is in the living room, but I do move it from the living room to the dining room. But I do use some vampires objects. I don't use any of the vampires wallpapers or floor tiles, except for the ceiling. I use the parquet floor tile that came with vampires for the ceilings in this house. But yeah, it's mostly base game, wall textures and floor textures and all that. So you can see I'm playing around with the living room. I believe the fireplace is actually up against the wall where the bookshelves are originally. I wasn't paying attention earlier, so I can't, I'm too focused on the voiceover rather than what's going on the screen most of the time anyway. But I think the fireplace was on the wall where the bookshelves are now, but I just moved it to the exterior wall, because I place a chimney there, and I've said a million times before, but I do like to have realistic chimneys in my builds, and I don't want the chimney to be inside, so I moved the fireplace, and it fits nicely in between these windows. I did do a lot of playing around with the bookshelves, and I do this heinous thing where really what I was trying to do was fill up this wall, because it's a very tall, just flat wall. And I was trying to, give it some detail, and I do this disgusting thing with the bookshelves and cabinets. I don't really show much of it. You might see a little bit of it when I start taking it down. But in the end, I just have, a few bookshelves, and I, size them up with the tool mod, and then place them really close together so that it looks like they are a bit more built in. And yeah, I did try to maintain as much of their original decor as possible, and I've just added things here and there where I felt like they were appropriate. But yeah, this is a very big living room, and decorating big spaces in The Sims is quite difficult. I'm okay with big open spaces, and then I feel like they look good in modern builds because especially if you're doing like a minimalist modern build, then open spaces do look quite good in that regard. But for a house that's quite older, I want it to feel a bit more lived in, and so I have a bit more stuff. Oh yeah, there are these there's that disgusting thing that I did with the cabinets that gets taken down immediately after this. But I did separate the this little bay window with the chest table, so I separated that just to kind of enclose the living room a little bit, and it makes the room look a bit more interesting. And then I move around these bookshelves and just have them in the corner here. I've got this grandfather clock, and that moves around quite a bit, but in the end it goes in the hallway because they do have a piano in this house, and it was originally upstairs, but then a bit later on in the build I bring it downstairs, and yeah, just place it in one of the corners. I'm just trying to figure out what I am doing here. I think I'm just still, just playing around with furniture placement. It takes me a really long time to be satisfied with the placement of furniture. Like I can just, sit here for half an hour figuring out where to put one pot plant. And I'm a bit more conscious of that now that I am doing, like, recording my builds. So whenever I do that, I just try and cut out that footage, but sometimes it does sneak in. But I did make an entryway from the living room into the kitchen just for the sake of convenience, and I think it just breaks up that wall that all the bookshelves were on, so it looks like that. I guess that wall has a purpose. It's not just one big blank wall. But I've moved on to the kitchen now, and I kept pretty much all of the textures that were in the original kitchen, except the floor. I did change the floor texture, but the walls stay the same, the kitchen cabinets stay the same, the table and chairs stay the same. No, actually I changed the color of the chairs from red to grey, I think. I did add a backsplash behind the stove or the oven, but I just felt like the brick looked a little too industrial rather than I don't know, old-fashioned or classic. It didn't look very classical. It was a bit too industrial for my liking, so I changed that to just some wood, some panelled wood. And I gave them a couple of extra dining chairs because in the original build they only have 3 dining chairs, and one of them is like a kid's chair. I think that might be a chair for Alex, and it's not even slotted to the table. So I always wondered that one random blue chair that is in, like, that blue kids chair that is in the kitchen that's not slotted to a table was left there by mistake. And yeah, it's just been sitting there this whole time because it just looks so out of place. So yeah, that chair is gone, but I do give them 4 chairs because 4 people live in this house. And now I'm just playing around with this space in the kitchen. It's where there was a bunch of counters where the sink was, but because I placed a tall window there, I had to break up the counter space, and so I was just figuring out what to put in this space instead. I kept the tall cabinets with the crockery in them, and I played around with a few different things. So I tried with a love seat and some cabinets above it, and then a bit later on I realized that I didn't actually have like a coffee machine, because I'm pretty sure they have a coffee machine in their original build, and I took it out, and I did want them to still have a coffee machine, so I removed the love seat and just placed another couple of counters for the coffee machine to go on. And now I'm just playing around with the kitchen clutter. So it's very standard base game kitchen clutter, because none of the packs that I used came with any additional clutter. And yeah, I said I think in the last build, in the Pleasance build, that I am probably going to start doing more builds with unlimited packs. I think the next build that I might do, which will be the the BFF's household. I was thinking it's the one with Summer Holiday in it. The BFF's household. I might do that build with unlimited packs While I do enjoy playing with limited packs, like, it tests my creativity, etc, etc, I do also like playing with unlimited packs because that really also tests my creativity. So I think for the BFFs I'm going to use unlimited packs, except I will, as I said earlier, for the exterior of the build I'll mostly stick to base game just so it looks more cohesive and fits in with the rest of the world. And as you can see, I put in the coffee machine, and then I just put in some shelves above this counter here so it looked a little more detailed, and I placed some debug clutter on it, or on them, because there's 3 shelves there. And I've changed the color of the chairs. And just with the shelves, in case you're not familiar, I don't use a tool to place things on shelves, because if you play in cutaway mode, then the objects look like they're floating. So I just kind of slot things on shelves that fit on shelves. It's really frustrating because they're objects that look like they fit on shelves, but they don't. So yeah, I just stick to the shelf slots. Now I'm on to the dining room, and it's very much in the same kind of space that it was originally. It's a square dining room because there's no longer that weird turret on the end of the house. It's now a square-shaped room, and that just means that the dining room was a bit more conventional and traditional. So we've just got the table and chairs in the center here with a nice rug, and of course, like I have done with the rest of the house, I just tried to keep as much of their original furniture as possible. I guess we can call these items their heirlooms. I don't know, like that pot of twigs or something. Maybe they have so much sentimentality towards that they just can't get rid of it. I also give them a bar and just a few paintings and some plants. These chairs that are on the side there, I break them up a little bit later on in the video. I don't know, just looks better when they're not together like that. I felt like there was a bit too much red in that corner. So I'm finished with the dining room mostly, and now I'm coming on to this little study area. I was kind of a bit, struggling a bit with what to put in this room, and so I just created like a separate study area. And this is just a result of me getting rid of the turret and squaring off the entire room, and also because I shrunk down the staircase a lot, because they had a massive staircase originally in their house, and that just didn't seem very necessary. It was also kind of ugly. It's just like this big 3-tile wide staircase, so yeah, happy to get rid of that, but it just meant that I had a bit of extra space to work with. The study is very simple. It's got some bookshelves and, one bookshelf and a desk and chair. I do put a computer in here to start with, but then I move the computer upstairs to Bella and Mortimer's room, because there is a kind of like a little study area in their room. You'll see with their room, I do have to get a little bit creative with the layout, because just the way that the rooms came together meant that the bed placement was a bit funny, but I'll get to that a bit later. I'm getting ahead of myself again. But yeah, just continuing to decorate this little study. So you can see the colors that I'm going with are very dark, but they also contrast quite nicely with the curtains and the light kind of beigey gold wallpaper that is around the rest of the house. With the lampshades here, I've got the gold swatch at the moment, but I do go around and change them all to black. I believe I do that very, very soon. And now I'm just working on the hallway, and I use the runner from Vampires, and then I just use this base game rug for the back door and size it up, because it is quite a nice rug. It's super tiny. So yeah, and then I just added in a coat rack and some shoes. I didn't want to put those in the main entryway because I wanted the main entryway to look quite formal and, fancy. And I felt like those objects would they just would look a bit out of place in there. So I moved them to the back door. Now I'm just doing a quick sweep around the ground floor before I move upstairs. I did add a stereo with that little, I think it's a gramophone, in the living room. And now I'm moving on to the half bathroom downstairs, and changing all the colors of the lights. I think I played around a few different times with the lights colors, so I did change them to black, and then I changed it back, and now I'm changing it to black again because I just felt like the black looked better. But with the half bathroom, I kept all of that pretty much the same, so it keeps the wall texture, the same wall texture and the floor texture. And yeah, now I'm still working on some final touches on the ground floor before I move to the second story. And here's the second story landing. So this is the tower. And yeah, I really wanted, this is what I was talking about earlier. I wanted like a stacked staircase in this tower part, but I just couldn't get it to work. So I kept the tower just, like a strictly entry by an access point to the second floor, and then I moved make a stairwell to the third floor, just off the what I'm going to call the second living room, and that is just the room that Alex and Cassandra's rooms lead off to. So I'm working on that room now, and I am just moving all the furniture about because, when I was putting the floor plan together, all the furniture just got jumbled up. But I'm putting the second living room together now, and yeah, it's, I was also trying to find a place for the piano because it just didn't fit in this room. It's got a lot of archways and doorways into it, so unless the piano was in the very center of the room, which I didn't want it to be, it could stay up there. So I just moved it downstairs, and I'll find a place for it later in the living room. So I've just got a couple of couches, a coffee table, and just various decorations around the place. There is a bit of dead space that I made into a little nook for a bookshelf. As you can see there's just an archway to the bookshelf. And then I put in some pictures, an end table, and then the other kind of nook that has the window off to it, I put in the rocking chair that came with the storybook nursery kit. And then I also remembered these, what are they called again? Radiators from vampires, and I just placed them around the place. So you may have noticed that there is no door into Alex's room, and that's because I actually forgot to put one at this point in the build. So I do come back later on when I start decorating Alex's room that I realized that he had no door into his room, so I had to move some stuff out the way and give him a door. So I finished that second living room there, and now moving on to Cassandra's room. And again, like with the rest of the house, I kept most of the colors the same. I like the magenta color scheme that she has in her room, but I just toned it down a little bit because the chair and the ottoman were also magenta, so I just recolored those to black, so that there still is some magenta, but just not so much. She does have an easel in her room at the moment, but I envision her hobby in this particular game, in Sims 4, to be music. She does have a violin in her room, I believe. Or does she? No, there is a violin in this house, but I think, now that I'm thinking about it, it is in the upstairs landing in the original build. But there's a piano and a violin, so I'm just going to imagine that. My headcanon is that Cassandra is into music. Oh, I also just realized I recolored the rug to black too, so I think I said before that I just recolored the ottoman and the chair, but I also recolored the rug, so there is still some magenta around, but just, not so much. And then I'm just placing various decorations. I'm coming in and putting in the absolutely necessary light switches, and I'm just playing around with the color of the lights. And now I am decorating her dresser, just with some lovely base game clutter there, and putting in a laundry basket too. So here I am, just still playing around with the light, the color of the lights, and I just plop in a bookshelf just in that little empty corner there. Now moving on to Alex's room, and I gave him the same wall texture as Cassandra's room just for consistency, but I really go hard with the Storybook Nursery Kit. Now I know Alex is a child, so I don't use the furniture for infants and toddlers for his room, but it does come with some toys like a dollhouse and a toy box and various other bits of clutter that I was able to use for his room. But I try to keep as much of his original furniture as possible. So I do keep his red and blue rug. I actually quite like that rug, and I feel like it's a nice pop of color for his room. And I just play around with the wall decorations. I also add in just one little section of the wall. I use the new wallpaper that came with the Storybook Nursery Kit, and that is the reference to Pleasant View. So super happy to see that. Like, I think it's a really cool detail of the pack. And of course, I plop in his dollhouse, and it's just a replica of the original house. So I mean, if they ever want to remember what the original house looked like, they can just go and look at Alex's dollhouse and reminisce over that. He also gets a massive walk-in wardrobe. This was, I could have turned this into like an ensuite bathroom for him, but I thought that would have been a little bit excessive, or for a child to have an ensuite bathroom, it didn't make sense. So I just turned it into a walk-in wardrobe, but I also add in a bookshelf and some clutter in the on his end table, and then just up against this wall where the Pleasant View wallpaper is, I wanted there to be like a little, just a cute little sitting, reading space for him. And so I just placed the hall table, the sideboard that came with Laundry Day. And so I placed it up against this wall and put various bits of clutter on it. In terms of the Plumbob picture that I put on the wall, I'm kind of regretting that choice a little bit now, because it covers up the wallpaper a little bit. Like, it kind of defeats the purpose of that wallpaper. If you want, you can take that down. I don't know if I'm going to keep it there when I start playing in this house, but it's there for now, and it's going to be there in the uploaded build. But now that I'm looking at it, it kind of doesn't really make sense for it to be there. I don't know why I put it there. But anywho, we are now on the room, the room of Bella and Mortimer's bedroom. And so you can see with the layout of the bedroom, I have a walk-in wardrobe that is in the center of the room. So I couldn't place the bed there. It took me a little while to figure out how to actually get the bed to work. I was going to place the bed in the bay window, but then it meant they couldn't have any side tables. So I just created like this half wall here to section off the bedroom a little bit so that the bed can still face the bay window. And I just put some tiles behind it so that it looks a bit more fancy. And then behind it is more like a study office area. Bella and Mortimer, I think they're both employed in this game. And so I guess, this could just be like a little, office area for them where they do their career related bits and bobs. So there is a desk in the corner, there are some bookshelves and a plant, and I also give them a computer up here as well. I think Bella isn't she like a secret agent in the base game? I'm not sure, but I felt like that's a really weird career for her to have. So I don't usually keep her in that career. With Mortimer, his career, I usually change him to the scientist career, because that's, in all the other games, except for The Sims 3 because he's a child. But in The Sims 1 and The Sims 2, he is in the science career. So I put him in that career when I play this game. You would have noticed as well on the dresser in the bedroom that I put the pictures of, there's that picture of a toddler and a picture of a baby on the dresser. You could I guess it's a bit of a random object, so it's just, a picture of random toddlers and babies. So it's not very versatile, but I placed it in there anyway because, it looks nice and it fills up that dresser. But anyway, so I'm moving on to their walk-in wardrobe, and I placed the usual wall decorations for, They're kind of, they're good for closets really. And I've just come out to the bedroom and I'm just playing around with the artwork. But then after the wardrobe, I move on to their ensuite bathroom. So the wardrobe goes, they go into their wardrobe and then they go into their ensuite bathroom. And much like the bathroom downstairs, I kept the wall and the floor textures the same. I did a couple of recolors, but I also replaced, No, I don't replace the shower tub combo. I give them an extra sink and mirror. And then I'm just going around and placing various bits of bathroom clutter as well. And then I move on to, now that oh no, I do put in a curtain. I was thinking that I didn't put a curtain there, and then maybe I was thinking, well, that window's opaque, so I mean, why do you need any curtain covering? But it's a bug, so I did remember to put a curtain on it, which is good. I've just come back to that little nook and just played around with the placement of the objects and just added a bit more clutter. And now I'm going around the rest of the second story. And now I've just come back to the entryway and changed the size of the picture. And now I'm just changing the color of the stairs so that they matched the floor a bit better. And now I am working on the attic space. So it's very empty up here. Like I wanted it to look like an attic, so not a lot of stuff, but I wanted it to look like a storage space. And because the Storybook Nursery kit came with quite a few items for babies and infants and toddlers, I put that stuff up here, but obviously it's not being used. But I just imagined that at some point in time Alex or Cassandra were using those items, and yeah, they've just been put up in the attic for storage. But anywho, I'm just doing the laundry now, putting in the washer and dryer and some counters and the usual laundry day clutter. And I am also putting in a sink at some point, because I feel like the laundry really does need a sink. And that goes in right now. And then I just put like this old looking raggedy chair in the corner before moving on to the main space in the attic. And then actually I found a toy box in the Storybook Nursery kit. So I went and quickly placed that in Alex's room. And then I got the rest of the toddler and infant and baby stuff and just place that in the corner here, just along with some crates. So yeah, just so it looks like storage area really. I mean, you can do whatever you want with this upstairs part. I think with Mortimer, once he starts reaching some higher levels in the science career, then perhaps one of these attic rooms could be a place for like a home laboratory maybe. I don't know, but I placed some cobwebs around the place so that it looked more I guess attic-like. And then there's just in the tower, I placed the easel. So if anyone wants to do some painting, they can come and do it in a dark, dingy attic tower with some cobwebs, which sounds like absolute fun to me. And now I am, oh yeah, I forgot about the second floor bathroom. So here I am doing that. It's very simple. Bathrooms are never really that exciting to me, and they're not even really that exciting to talk about, but I use the shower tub combo from Vampires, and just the usual bathroom clutter, all base game, and all I guess objects that are throughout the rest of the house, like the towel rail. I think the pedestal sink is somewhere else in the house as well. So in a moment I am going to, oh no, I'm just placing some plungers around the place, but now I am working with the piano in the living room. So I've placed it in the corner here, and yeah, just the objects that were already there. I'm just trying to find another home for them. But I was trying to, because it is like another blank wall, so I tried to make the wall look a little bit more interesting. I did take out some, one of the hall tables, and yeah, just put the divider up against that wall, and then I placed a mirror up against the wall and next to the piano, and I moved the grandfather clock into the hallway. And now I am going through and just doing the adding the chimney, and I am almost done. Oh no, actually at the beginning of the video I did say that I was going to put some trees out the front of the house, and I am doing that now. So just another tree on both sides of the house, and doing some terrain paint, and I believe, yeah, we're coming up to the panning shots. So while you look over these, I'm going to say thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. As always, it's been a pleasure to bring this to you. And yeah, as I said at the beginning of the video, I am going to be away for a couple of weeks, so there won't be any uploads. If you want to download this house, it is available on the gallery. My gallery ID is minosimu_NZ. But yeah, that's it from me. So yeah, I will say take care, and I will talk to you later.